From the center of the galaxy, this is ForceCenter, show about Star Wars, pop culture, and the ultimate adventure, life itself. I'm Ken Napzok.
I'm Joseph Scrimshaw.
And Jennifer Landon sends her regards, as always. I know we say that as a threat, but no, she's celebrating a belated holiday, so she will be back next week. We can't wait for that. We are going to talk about hope in Star Wars, a good thing to start the new year, and a thing we always do need. Before we dive into that, we always want to remind you today's podcast is brought to you by our own merch shop on Fourth Wall. Check out our merch store, pick up a t-shirt, pint glass, coaster, something to help support the show and represent ForceCenter out in the galaxy. You have time, but time will go fast. We'd love to see some ForceCenter shirts at Star Wars Celebration 2027 in Los Angeles, or maybe at the Lucasfilm Museum opening. I don't know. That'd be a good spot too. Head over to forcecenter-shop.fourthwall.com and check out the links there. forcecenter-shop.fourthwall.com. That's our ad intro, but also we have an ask still, Joseph.
That is right. We are asking for more subscribers on YouTube. We have a goal of hitting 10,500 as soon as humanly possible. And we're pretty close. We're at about 10,300. Thank you to everyone who has joined us in our full face version of ForceCenter. And we're looking for 200 more people to appreciate our faces. I don't know if this is... Sometimes comedy and ad reads don't go together.
No, because you have to hit that. Sometimes the best are these cynical, ironic ones, and those have kind of got cliche to be. Yeah, know what you mean.
Yep. Anyway, the point is, please hit the things on YouTube, and we would appreciate it very much. We are doing a little tiny bit better on posting more on Blue Sky. I posted there twice in December, and I'm looking to double that in January. But we would love to see more friends over on Blue Sky as well.
Indeed. We'll get there. I've been trying to, increase my footprint as well on my personal page. We'll do it here as well. I don't know. I was talking to a friend about that. We love playing the social media game. We understand it. I consider them platforms, not just social media. It's a place to play, a place to get the word out, and a place to speak on important things. But also, I have, I think, a touch of, I grew up before all this. So I just, after like 6 days, go, oh, yeah, I should probably post something.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it lately, like, it is like going to a party, and there are many, many important things of going to a party. You get community, maybe you get ideas, maybe some people get upset, and you kind of have to deal with that, but that's a part of going out in the world and being a part of a community. And I think the weird thing is, like, I love parties. Parties are good. I believe in them, and I want to be there. I don't want to, basically the way we're all living our lives, I feel like it's like, well, I'm at work, but for just 5 minutes, I'm going to open that door and go into a party and get all riled up. And then I'm going to close the door. Then I'm going to come back in and work. Now I'm going to get up and go back to the party again for only 30 seconds this time. I think that's the psychology of it that I think a lot of us need to figure out is how do we go back and forth in and out of party mode that often a day.
I did. Yeah, I agree. Though I do enjoy a good party too. And I enjoy leaving a good party. It's all there.
You have Irish goodbye social media before, and you'll do it again.
I'll do it again. We're gonna get to hope here. We you and I should probably even discuss this. This is an off-air conversation, but on the live show we kind of always forget to do Star Wars Life Adventures. This is a better chance, but this is technically the first time we see each other. This is our Monday morning record. So maybe it's a chance to sip some coffee and catch up on life after Monday begins. You were doing some traveling and posted a great Star Wars photo. Like it could be in a coffee table book. Do you want to share more about it? Am I forcing the conversation?
No, not at all. Yes, we went to a wonderful and strange place called Madonna Inn for the New Year's. For years and years and years, I did a New Year's show, and I'm taking a break from that, but my wife and I really try to make an event of New Year's because I love the holiday. So we try to go to fun and interesting places. If you haven't been to Madonna Inn, you're in for a great search on the internet. It was really fun because it is in the home countries of Mr. Napzok, Mr. Ken Napzok. So that was fun to imagine you in that area living out your life. But Madonna Inn, bonkers place. It is. I kept thinking of it as it's like a cruise ship crashed on land. It is half very fancy and elegant, and half like we are aggressively tacky in a fun way. It is. What if cowboys and masculinity were smashed up with pink and fun? It's a wild, strange place that I love dissecting, and I think a lot of people know its big shtick is that all the rooms are different themes, and the room that we chose on purpose is a rock theme. And by theme, it means it's the walls and the floor of our room literally made out of actually quite dangerous rock. Like,
Yes.
to get up in the middle of the night to urinate it required arms outstretched balancing from me, because you're walking on even
Mm-hmm.
room temperature rocks.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then there's a rock shower, which is just like all the walls of the shower, the floor, everything is made out of rock. If you're a James Bond fan, it looks like Dr. No's lair. So I've got the Obi-Wan Kenobi action figure that I brought to Star Wars Celebration 2023, after seeing Alex and Molly having their own figure that they brought around that I thought was really cool. And I've never taken him out of my bag. So I was like, this rock is so cool. There's little ledges everywhere. So I put him on the little ledge in the shower and took a photo of him there, and put that on social media. And the nice thing, a lot of people are like, that's cool. And you can see prequel fans coming out and being like, where's Boga? You know, nice things. A lot of people are sharing, strangely, pictures that they did not take of their action figure. But I've had at least 3 people comment, I have a loved one who is no longer here, who used to do this, who used to take their action figure places and take photos of it. And it was a nice reminder of them and sharing their photo. Some people shared their own photos of like, yeah, here's who I took to the Parthenon. Here's the Lego I took to the Colosseum. So that's been very positive. There's been some negative as well because it's social media, but the positive,
of course,
very nice.
Oh, did you have a good time with your little action figure?
The weirdest one for me is just sort of like why do you have an Obi-Wan action figure? Fair enough, but the answer is pretty easily available on the old internet if you look up my name. But a lot of people wanting to tell me that, well, that shower can't ever be sanitary because you can't clean rock. I'm like, well, too late. I guess I'm gonna die of wet rock then. Like, what? Like, I just like, you don't have to share every thought. Like, you don't have to share every thought.
Going back to our previous conversation here in the episode of why sometimes I just forget to go on social media for 6 days.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Anyway,
okay, that's good.
But for the
that's
most
almost
part, a lot
that's
of
almost
people really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's almost better than I'm sure Reva sucks, like those kind of things. I
really only got 2 like that. I only got one like better than anything in the prequels and better than anything in the Last Jedi. I'm like, okay.
Okay. Yeah. There was a real moment in early 2018. I got to go to a DGA screening of The Last Jedi, and this is like early, like maybe even still December. I went with my friend Jack Harguth, and Ryan was there, and it was like Ryan's birthday. So whenever his birthday is, when we went, and he came out, he did a Q&A, but they brought a cake to him, and I took a little blurry Jon Favreau blurry style photo and posted on my Instagram page. And this is the film had just come out. We were still discussing it, but it's Star Wars. And people in my comments just go, "Why'd you give him the gift of screenwriting? Because he can't do it." And I'm just like, "Oh, I can't have a personal moment, huh? Okay, yeah, right.
Yeah,
I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm out.
Yeah, and this is nothing. People, for the most part, like I said, people are posting lovely things. I think more than for me, it's just wrestling with the culture of social media, like. Just people use it very differently. Because if I had questions, I would see if if anybody else had asked that question 18 times already, and if it had been answered. Anyway,
that's a great adventure.
Yeah, how about you?
Great adventure. You know what I did? I watched as I do every once in a while over the course of 2 or 3 days. Either doing things, cooking, working out, whatever. I'll watch a film, and so I put in like it was a VHS tape. Put on Return of the Jedi, which I think I joked even last week on our episodes. But I got to the end of it, right? My final, the Battle of Endor, essentially was my final chapter to watch. And I just, other than just enjoying it, I just was kind of thinking about how much of that battle. Including not just on Endor, but up in space and on the Death Star with Luke and Vader and the Emperor, and just the cuts, the smash cuts, and the tree exploding, but the ship coming, all those things. How much it just kind of formed me as a Star Wars fan, formed me as a little kid, and I was watching with a great excitement And there's a lot of things that build Star Wars, that make Star Wars. And we're going to talk about perhaps the biggest ingredient today. But like the reason I came out of my first screening of Rogue One and was just like, that is the best Star Wars that ever Star Wars, was a reaction to the final 30 minutes of that film being this big battle and taking me back to 1983 and just kind of the epic feel of it. I was just taking in how much Return of the Jedi is like the first link in my Star Wars DNA. First one I saw in theaters that I remember. First one that I engaged with. First one I was buying the toys in. First one I was reenacting on the playground. And it's a great movie and we love it. But also, as we've talked before, it wasn't immediately received and loved back in the day. But it will always be so important. It was such a fun watch, but especially the battle, and we can break it down, and we have, and from Akbar's side to Luke jumping out, everything is so great. But it might be quintessential Star Wars to me in a way. Big statement, but taking it.
Yeah, no, I think that's really great to always look honestly at our DNA of what forms why we love Star Wars, as you say, and also what we want out of Star Wars, because what we first loved will cause us to respond to different Star Wars projects in different ways. And I think kind of taking ownership of that, of like, this isn't for me, but like anything that gets, I know there's so many people who are so excited for space battles because that's part of their Star Wars DNA. And I'm so hopeful for Starfighter. I've been thinking about Return of the Jedi, that ending a lot, in particular, what we're going to talk about today, the big H word, hope. But also having spent most of last year editing a film, when you see something when you're really little, it just exists and it's cool. And so they're like cuts in Return of the Jedi I always thought were cool. But working on editing and appreciating that, like, that didn't have to be. People were clever and decided that that's the way to intersperse these very different battles. It's just I love watching it just for the editing. It's so well done. I got an idea. Clash. So,
yeah, man, everything. Yeah, like weeps over Nanta's death again in my soul. All of it. There. Anyways, good film. Turns out Star Wars, pretty good thing. That's why we're here today.
Real good film. Good job.
Good job. Well, we're gonna dive into hope, and hope always comes up. We've discussed it before. I think this is a perfect time to look at this key ingredient of Star Wars, both for the franchise as it begins, we say carefully, a new phase, because then everyone thinks we're talking about Marvel stuff, but a new era of Star Wars, new films, new projects, new shows after a little bit of a downtime, and just, the world at large.
Yeah, no, there is, I partially thought of this as a topic because I wanted to revisit it, and because there is obviously people are hurting and suffering in the real world, and there is a lot of doom and gloom and infighting and all those kinds of things. And I think I do think there's a big sort of there's a philosophical discussion of what is hope and how do you apply it. And I think Star Wars is very interesting to talk about in getting into the real mechanics of how does it depict hope and what does it actually do? What does it actually accomplish? All those kind of things. But I want to start with the big picture, Ken. For you, is hope an important theme to the overall epic saga of Star Wars? And why is it important to you?
It absolutely is. And it's obviously important when it comes to just any kind of big stories of heroes and myths and villains. And I'm drawn to that, right? But I'm often drawn as I get older to the sadder kind of hope, the hope with scars. Which is why I appreciate Star Wars, especially at the beginning, as we found it with our generation, full of the hope that comes after the darkness, right? The hope earned, the hope fought for, which I think we'll talk about more detail with other Star Wars stories. But I absolutely want everything to have some kind of version of hope. And that's a wide, obviously means a lot of things. There's, hope. There's the actual, dictionary definition of what a hope is. There's what we feel. There's the expectations, the desires for things to be better. But that hope is also that thing that can and maybe at times hopefully should get you up in the morning. And that hope could be a breakfast burrito like I had today. There was a lot of hope in that. I knew I was going to wake up and have something I enjoyed. But yeah, I want it in Star Wars. And I hate to, that's not a demand. It's not a demand. But this is kind of what the franchise is about to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, there is, I think, a Yeah, I think, going back to the beginning when people say it's like it's a simple story of light and dark, good and evil, like th- that story isn't actually simple in the big picture. I think Star Wars is a story of light and dark wants to snuff out
Hmm.
all the light, and as has actually been described in some Star Wars stories, I think the idea of hope as this little tiny light that keeps flickering when darkness wants to snuff everything out, and I think that is very spiritual and philosophical. But then we get to see also in Star Wars the real crunchy, um, real authoritarianism wants you to believe that it is too powerful to be stopped. The Emperor doesn't want you to think that you can band together with furry murder bears and defeat it.
Hmm.
The Emperor wants
Hmm.
you to go, it's too big. It is impossible. I can't imagine a world where we can beat it. The Empire wants you to say that's not realistic. It's silly, um,
Hmm.
and wants you to not. I think, to me, a part of what's inspiring about the way hope is used in Star Wars is that it is the spiritual force side, but it's also like the real practical of. I think hope is what allows you to keep going even when things are very, 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 very against you. And the odds of achieving your goals are actually very slim. Hope is what keeps you from doing nothing,
Hmm.
and doing nothing is exactly what authoritarians want in the real world, in the galaxy far, far away. And it's what the dark side wants. It wants you to do nothing. And hope is that little spark that keeps you from doing nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that can be applied to the macro and the micro. Even just getting up for that breakfast
Mm-hmm.
is about getting up.
Mm-hmm.
It's about starting anew.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we isolate different themes in Star Wars to talk about, and hope is such a big and important one. But I think it's like the gateway theme, because there are all those other themes in Star Wars that kind of make the argument of what does it take to resist the dark side, and other things are community, creativity, diversity, personal conviction, sacrifice. I think it's so cool that what you just watched is the end of Return of the Jedi, because I think like all of those things are in action, in
Mm.
play, actively in the end of Return of the Jedi. Kind of none of them are possible if the characters don't keep hope alive and say it's worth trying.
Hmm.
Odds are against us, but it's worth trying. And I think it's hope that leads to all the other ideas of Star Wars, of community, creativity, diversity, personal conviction, even the organic versus the mechanical. The mechanical wants you to believe there's no forest that we can't cover in steel. And we've got
Hmm.
images in Star Wars where the nature pushes back and goes, no,
Hmm.
we're still here, and we're going to
Hmm.
be here. You are not going to coat us in rigid, inorganic, soulless material.
Gray banister railingless metal.
Exactly. So, any other big picture thoughts on the theme before we dive into some specifics?
No, we could dive on in.
So, I wanted to dive into specifics because I think at sometimes, if I would say the storytelling isn't as elegant as it should be, it, not just in Star Wars, but in other places, it can just feel like characters will be like, "What'll it take to win? Hope," and then stirring music, and then like, "Okay,
Yeah.
great." That
Yeah.
then it can feel sort of saccharine and toxic positivity, and like slap
Yep.
a hope sticker on it and everything will be fine, and like you're not dealing with reality. And in real life, that's a lot of the pushback you get when you advocate for people to do things hopeful. They come back at you with, well, you're not dealing with reality, that's not going to work, blah 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 blah. So I thought it would be valuable to look at, well, how does it actually function in the narrative of Star Wars?
Mm.
So obviously a primary theme, starting with the first film, Star Wars, and later renamed, literally using the word hope, A New Hope. How do you feel hope is integrated into that first story? If there was a different reality and no more Star Wars was ever made, and you and I were among the small band of weirdos who just loved that one film from 1977,
Mhm. Hmm.
how do you see hope in that first film, that first story?
Also, you're making me think we should launch Disney's Black Hole Center and just talk about that crazy, weird, scary movie. Um, Yeah, other than just the simple hero's journey story, I wanted to focus. You said something about like, you're right. It can be Pollyanna, saccharine, and I get that, and that's real. That's a real problem. Get up and give a plucky "let's go" and your problems are solved. We know that, but I think that masks what this film also has going on. I'll bring in a little bit of the big Dark Letter deleted scene, but
Hmm.
which is almost not fair for the conversation, right? But just putting it into the story, I love the idea that you begin with this kid in the middle of nowhere, or what he thinks is nowhere, and obviously now the hero's journey is so well documented, and you can pick it out of the crowd the moment it starts in a theater. But uh, him just feeling like you said, so it's all pointless, but there is this constant search and belief that there is something more, and but it's easy to give up, and everything around you just says give up, but not give up in the big giant dramatic ways, but just the go go grab the droids and go to the lore fields, right? Like give it all up. And then when Biggs shows up, and he's already escaped. He's escaped hometown to join, the Imperials, to go to the Imperial Academy, and that was kind of to Luke like, that's my hope, that's my hope. And for Biggs to come back and be like, no, there's something more, and even that is something that we can escape. You're not just escaping Tatooine. There's this whole system, this whole world that we can escape. But it will take a little work. It will take a big risk, and that is the building block, I think, of Luke's desire to go on, desire to matter, desire to be in the story. That is a reminder that the hope is, you have to fight for it. You have to find it. You have to sometimes
Hmm.
choose it, and it isn't just simply magical. It is not this thing of destiny in which you are on rails. There's still choices along the way, something we've talked about before. So even though that's not in the film, I think that's present, and enough of it is present in the film. We get a lot with Luke and Obi-Wan. We get a lot of that. That's your
Hmm.
your uncle talking, all those kind of things. While it reads, and it's definitely, whether 100% true or not, it's definitely 18-year-old in Modesto trying to get out. I got
Hmm.
it. But we all experienced that. You went and visited my hometown. It's a beautiful, beautiful part of the country. I couldn't wait to get out, right? I couldn't wait to get. There's got to be hope for something else beyond this beautiful, boring land. And I think Star Wars: A New Hope from '77 um, is about the risk and the chances and the choices to find and fight for hope. And I think that's why it worked. It wasn't just
Hmm.
Han coming back and the crowds cheer in '77 and we have a medal ceremony. It felt like, oh, okay, I can go on this journey too.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I think the idea. I think Luke and Han's journey are full of hope. I think Obi-Wan
Mm-hmm.
already knows this lesson. I think
Mm-hmm.
Leia already knows this lesson, as this is what it is to fight overwhelming odds. Is you have to keep hope alive and you have to strive. And Luke and Han are these figures of like they are the least likely, especially if you're just looking at the film from '77 of a farm boy from absolute nowhere and a scoundrel just bathed in cynicism and pessimism. And I think he would tell you realism. And to
Right.
watch their journeys from, I always think of the Obi-Wan Luke. It's not that I like the Empire, I hate them, but it's also far away from
Right.
here. And that's your uncle talking. And I think about that back and forth all the time from the big sort of political stuff of okay, I'm not Luke Skywalker. I'm not maybe going to be the one who has a more direct connection to this fight than I realize, but
Mm-hmm.
I can always do something. Um, but also there's the big political, but also how much of this is baked into Lucas's journey. Everybody talks about like the kid from Modesto with dreams, and that's great. But the act of making this film, I mean, I you know the story of Lucas if you're a Star Wars fan, but every once in a while a detail hits you. It was THX 1138 that bankrupted Zoetrope,
Mm-hmm.
this company that he formed with Coppola and with Walter Murch that was going to change everything, change the industry. They were the new kids on the
Mm-hmm.
block who are going to make it all different and better. And Lucas's train wreck reception. I'm not saying THX 1138 was a train wreck of a film, but it tanked. and destroyed. Like, the amount of success for my next film is so far away from here. And,
Mm.
that's your dad back in Modesto talking, that is baked into just the act of making this film. So I think it's important to remember that hope isn't just like this thing that Star Wars is talking about in terms of how to overthrow an authoritarian government,
Right.
but also just how do you reach your personal full potential? How do you realize who you want to be? Because you are going to be surrounded by people who are telling you that it is all so far away from here, including
Hmm.
people who love you and are afraid to see you go through pain of
Hmm.
chasing your dreams, or afraid to see you fail at achieving your dreams. All of us have a lot of Uncle Owen, I think, inside ourselves.
Yeah.
Every morning we get up going, well, why? It's so
Yeah.
far away from here. Well, why? Like, so
Hmm.
that spirit of is it really you who is saying it's all so far away from here, or is it all of this sort of internal or external noise that you have internalized?
Mm.
I think Han turning around is like, I think all the hero's journey stuff in the first film, Han turning around is uh, so incredibly important, because Luke is coded as the one who
Hmm.
ends up having an attachment to it all and the gift of the Force and all that. And Han is fascinating, even in A New Hope. His everything he says is realism
Hmm.
for the most part. That you can also argue is pessimism, cynicism, uh, but it isn't his actions. He keeps throughout A New Hope saying, "Yeah, you shouldn't do this," and then he goes and tries something wild and weird. It's
Mm.
like he almost can't. He knows his entire existence is predicated on hope of, like, I'm going to stick my neck out again. I'm going to stick my neck out again. I'm going to stick my neck out again. I'm going to be the one who believes that I can have a tiny bit of freedom. But the way I cope with that is by reflecting to everybody else verbally that this is all hopeless and you're dumb to hope. And yet
Mm.
every action he takes is this little grasping at hope. He's somebody who really does refuse to do nothing. The guy who says, you know, I don't want to fight an empire, and then goes charging through into a room full of stormtroopers to scare them, with a wild, dumb, reckless move. He's that's a great story of hope.
Mm. Yeah. I look at Han Solo in terms of the hope conversation. Also looking at, like, when you have someone like Luke, or even, Obi-Wan, Han has that kind of, like, I don't know. I think I've always taken this kind of, like, man, who's this crazy old wizard? But I kind of respect his game, man. Like, I kind of like what he's doing. But how, once hope is put in action, it does have ripple effects, and it does connect with other folks. And we can go down, as we've often done, of Han's journey of aligning with who he really should be and could be, and all those kind of good things, versus what he feels he has to be. All that stuff is present. But I think just in terms of the hope journey, there's a lot of, like, you know, once you get the action rolling, um, it inspires people, connects people, it makes them make better decisions.
Yeah, once he's just sort of pushed off his ass and has to
Yeah,
respond, his choices are almost always daring and hopeful.
yeah.
One other bit of hope in Star Wars is, I think, Obi-Wan. I think Obi-Wan's journey just in the first film, I think, is a little bit of an answer to the sort of hope as Saccharin fixes everything. Is his hope is in Luke. His hope is in that great line, "You can't win, but there are alternatives to fighting," which
Mhm.
is to say, like, yeah, if you're going to define hope is you take one action, you flip one switch, and everything gets better, that is saccharine and silly. But to sit back and do nothing is to give in.
Mm.
And if you're clever about it, there are small actions you can take that will contribute to the larger whole. And I think that's what his actions are, of, like, I'm not trying to defeat the entire empire today. I am
Mm.
trying to, inspire hope and keep the next generation moving.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Indeed.
So staying in the original trilogy, how do you think the idea of hope is rewarded at the end of the original trilogy in Return of the Jedi?
I mean, fireworks, right? The big victory, the dance, but also the scars, the losses. Um, This is one of the things I do appreciate about Andor showing the work of the math problem, and it's present in the original trilogy. But I think some of my favorite moments of that, the final celebration, everything are Luke staring off into the forest and looking at the ghosts and knowing both the loss but also the victory. This is why I don't want to get into the conversation. It's a pointless, fun Star Wars debate of Yub Nub Ewok celebration versus victory celebration. That's why I like victory celebration a little bit more, because there's some sadness beneath the hope that kind of comes in with the music.
Bittersweet.
It's bittersweet indeed. It's also about the losses. It's Akbar's sigh that we celebrate and talk about so much in the final battle when the Superstar Destroyer goes to the Death Star. That is hope to me. That is like, I didn't think I had it, but we might get it. And I think that's kind of all present there, and that's reward. Sometimes hope is just survival. Like, side notes, kind of why I like the story goes on, not just to like a Battle of Jakku, but we have the realities that we're dealing with this New Republic era storytelling. But in terms of just Return of the Jedi, it is so earned because of the collective actions, and you feel it.
Yeah, I think obviously we're going to talk more about Andor and Rogue One and how it enhances the original trilogy story. But I think that hope throughout the original trilogy builds up. All these little actions build up to the place where, well, we've got a pretty big alliance, and we have the opportunity to strike, and the odds are still against us. It isn't like, and finally, now that we know we have the absolute upper hand, it's still this like, yeah, can we pull this out? Should we even be doing this? Up until the moment of victory. And I think that's so important, because I think that's how things feel in real life. I think some of the realism conversations are always like, well, once we have the deck stacked and we absolutely know we can win, then then you're being realistic and you can be hopeful. That isn't hope. That's having the deck stacked.
Yeah.
Hope is we take, like Jen's speech, we take this step, we take this step, we take this step. And I do like that by Return of the Jedi, the Alliance is battered, but it's clearly grown. It survived the hopelessness of Empire Strikes Back. We just spent all this time setting up our new house, and we got to run because they're just, so hopeless, right? But we've seen the Alliance is still there, bigger than many people ever dreamed of, right? Nemec would be losing his mind at the size and the scale of the Alliance by Return of the Jedi. But even their last gasp at victory is hope, and hope opening the door to community, to trust in one another, with Lando saying, Han will get that down, with creativity, with the way they do get the bunker down, with an appreciation of diversity, with the way they do embrace the Ewoks. Hope leads to all these other tools that help in the victory. And I also think that Return of the Jedi does depict, it isn't just, I was hopeful and everything is great, because we do see Nanta's death. We do see Arvel Cryanin making the ultimate sacrifice, flying his A-Wing. We see lots of pilots dying and feeling overwhelmed. So I think it is a portrait of, like, I don't think it's ever been just easy. Luke feels that the weight of all those losses. The music now in Victory Celebration reminds us that this is a victory, but at a cost, at a huge cost. And I think it's important and responsible that it isn't just, and they lived happily ever after. It is. They paid a heavy price to get to this place.
Yeah, you're making me think of I'm so bad at humming music that I like, but around the time of Nanta's death, that is when the Battle of Endor seems lost, right? And the music behind that, if everyone could just hear it in their mind right now, you know what I'm talking about. It's such a great job, of course, Chad Williams, who's done it before. Hopefully, we'll do it again. Just capturing the swirling, almost the drain of defeat and hopelessness. Yeah, and that resonates with me, of just kind of that we all kind of feel that music cue. But it's not over.
Yeah, and I mean that's the kind of the big picture battle with rebellion, and then I think the hope on this sort of personal level pays off for Luke so much in
Mhm.
believing that there is a spark of good in his father,
Yeah.
Luke's hope, and the faith and the hope that was placed in Luke that gets doubted throughout the trilogy by
Mm.
different people. But Yoda's like, I don't know, I don't know.
Right.
Obi-Wan's like, yeah, I know, I know, but come on.
Yeah.
And we've discussed it a bunch, and it's very fun to discuss what are exactly Yoda and Obi-Wan thinking and hoping when they give Luke kind of his last mission to become a Jedi, his trial to become a
Mm.
Jedi. I think Yoda is hoping that he finds a way that isn't violence and revenge. I think
Mhm.
Obi-Wan, at least in words, lots of people have different interpretations, but in words, like the hope isn't through your father. He is gone.
Mhm.
Um, and Luke saying, maybe my mentors are even wrong, and maybe I can hold out even more hope than my mentors taught me to have
Mm.
is one perspective. Again, I know lots of people have different perspectives. Regardless, I think it is a story of like great, ridiculous amounts of hope. Of like,
Mm.
there's a as long as there's a chance of decency in my father, I'm not striking him down. I'm going to hold it out and hold that
Mhm.
out for myself that there is a better way.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
So we'll continue talking about the original trilogy era when we get back to Andor. But I also want to
Mhm.
talk about hope in the prequels. The prequels are ultimately a tragedy, but how do you feel like the idea of hope figures into the prequels?
It's a little less apparent, right? Which is what I love it. And George would jump in and say, "Yeah, that's why you should watch them 1 through 6. These kind of all work together." And in a 3 part trilogy here, well, that would make it a trilogy. In 3 part, these 3 movies, it is so much about things crumbling, either fast or slow. Institutions, governments, even people. If you're looking at
Hmm.
Anakin, from a certain point of view, and just everyone involved, that we know where it's going. I used to be drawn. This is even in 1999 when I know I had prequel issues, but I used to be drawn to the ending of Phantom Menace with the Boss Nass peace orb of it all.
Hmm.
But I used to walk around the mall. I was patrolling graveyards with at night with one of my friends and be like, but I love watching them smile. They got the orb,
Hmm.
they're smiling, and one by one you see Padme, Obi-Wan, young Anakin, and they're all happy. They got this victory, but we know so much darkness is about to come, and we didn't even know detail wise what was coming in '02 and
Hmm.
'05. I'm drawn to that because that is they're still smiling despite knowing it's coming, and then they go through it, they get through it. It's tragic, but then we go to the end of Revenge of the Sith, and I've always loved Luke and Leia being
Hmm.
delivered or arriving at their locations that we'd find them. And I can't tell you, I used to sometimes, on DVD, at '05, '06, '07, and wouldn't tell anybody I was watching this film because I was supposed to not like it. But I used to just get this swell of I need to watch A New Hope, right? Like,
Hmm.
and that even in the darkest hour, even if you can't see it, even if it's not right away, it can be present. That being hope or a better tomorrow or the solutions. I've always talked about Star Wars being about that hope of tomorrow is present today, and you are already on that journey. And I love. There's other examples we'll probably break down within the prequels, but I just love from that beginning, smiles into the darkness, and then out of darkness comes a true new hope. I think that's the message I take from the prequels in terms of hope.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think the ending shot certainly is meant to make you feel like, remember, this is not over.
Not
Um,
over.
there are I think, two big threads of hope for me in the prequel trilogy, and one is Padme. Um, Padme is always
Mm-hmm.
actively seeking a solution. She is sort of the definition to me of a do nothing is not an option.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's very practical, very realistic, but that is the motivating factor in the second half of the Phantom Menace. Is like, I won't do nothing. I went to the Senate, and what do you know? What is wrong with the Senate? Their ability to act has been frozen.
Mm-hmm.
They have been turned into a do nothing body, and she goes back to her planet and comes up with a plan that, once again, her hope, her her absolute determination to not let it stand, but to do something, opens up all of these other things: creativity, community, sacrifice with the relationship with the Gungans, all of those things. And then when we get into the dark days of the Clone Wars in the films, and particularly in the animated series, she is always looking for the best solution to the Clone Wars. She is not just like, well, we fell into this war, what are we going to do? She is always advocating for the better way out of it. Even in her death, she's forming the 2000 to oppose to get Padme, or to get Palpatine to put down its emergency powers. Her last words, which I know rankles some Star Wars fans, but I'd like that her last words are hope, that she knows there's still good in him, this little spark to be passed down the generations. So Padme, to me, is this picture of hope. I think Padme in the real world would never be like, yeah, well, we're screwed, what are you going to do? And just she's not going to just sit there and doom post on social media. She is going to find something to do, and if that thing doesn't work, she will try another thing. And if it's only a small little drop of water in the bucket, she'll still do that. She's a character made of hope. I really think
Mothma's just as bad as Palpatine.
She's not doing anything. I mean, what do you expect her to do? Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I mean, the story of Anakin, to me, I think his fall, he starts as a very hopeful character, right? Of like, I've never actually finished a pod race, but I believe in myself that I can win one to help people, you know? But his ultimate choice, the way it's constructed in Revenge of the Sith, I think that Star Wars often has this sort of duality of themes where you have two options about the way you look at the future. You can look at it as there is a possibility that things can get better, or there is no possibility. And one is hope and one is fear. And that is literally what is happening to Anakin with his vision of Padme's death. This could have been a story where Palpatine had, a lightsaber to Padme's neck, and it was his choice she was for sure going to die. It isn't a choice of he fell to the dark side because for sure by doing something awful, he saved her.
Right.
It's a more subtle story than that, in that it's predicated on this dream. I've had a vision that you're going to die. So instead of having any hope that maybe it won't turn out that way, he gives into the fear that it will for sure turn out bad. That vision is true. She is going to die. And so I have to make all these awful choices so I don't have to face the pain of that possibility. Anakin, to me, the chosen one prophecy is he had opportunities to help snuff out the dark side and bring the light multiple times, and he denied them until his final one. And so I think the story of the prequels is almost a story of a character who needed hope and who could have clung to hope and could have said, it's just a vision. I'm going to work with people. I'm not going to push people away. I'm going to find a healthy way. I'm going to live with the fear and not let the fear define me. I'm going to have some hope, but he chose fear and the galaxy suffered for it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I absolutely think Anakin's like the doing that won't help. It's already lost. He's that guy.
Yeah. The only path is the only path is the fast, easy one that feels good in the moment.
Yeah. Indeed.
So getting back to the Rogue One Andor of it all, the word hope is literally thrown around a lot in Rogue One. I think when it first came out, that was one of the few things when there are a ton of criticisms. One of the few things is like, are they earning how much they're just kind of saying hope? But then, and that's a discussion about Rogue One itself. But then, I don't feel like if you watch Andor, the word hope being thrown around in Rogue One feels unearned. Andor is an exercise in torture testing the idea of hope. So what do you think is valuable about how the Andor/Rogue One story handles hope or depicts hope?
So it's a great question and conversation because I was one of the folks that probably did roll my eyes a little bit at the constant use of hope in Rogue One. I think there is a mighty struggle in that film that was present then and is present now. Andor is a chance to me of not just we get to tell more of the story. It's we get to expand the lessons and we get to build back to the moments we know. That's why again the very final moments of Andor talk about bittersweet. Talk about a hope springing through asphalt or steel. The Empire. So I love that final episode so much. I think it was a great choice to end it. But it truly is, like I said earlier, showing the work. But it's fully connected to me, if that makes sense. It is not something that's saying, well, we had a little oversight here. We had some saccharine uses of the word hope. It's going, no, hey, now we have a chance to say why those characters earned the right to say that, why they earned the belief to say that, and that it was never easy, and that it was never implied that it was easy. It's we're blessed with 2 seasons of how difficult it is to just believe in the idea of hope and how far away you can be from it. And how it is important to take action. Much like my whining chihuahua, I apologize.
I'm glad to know it's a whining chihuahua. Like, there's like some person walking through Ken's house doing a weird serial killer whistle.
It's a ghost
coming to get you. Yeah,
yeah.
Some amazing lung power.
She is
lips on that chihuahua.
She has a lot of hope for breakfast right now because she didn't want to eat it earlier. So,
yeah, I think a couple things. There's so much to discuss about hope in Andor, but a couple things that popped to my mind is obviously we get to see the characters suffer. Bix in particular, to be just trying to get through life, kind of having this little bit of like, I have this connection, I have this radio, I'm kind of fighting, to make this connection to something larger, but then to be so brutally tortured, we see the depths of her depression, so much loss, and then to see her hold on to life, hold on to hope. And I know some people don't like it because it's a little bit too literal or lots of things, but I think, new life is literal hope. And also, there's so many times on the path where you can be watching that show and be like, yeah, why would Bix have any hope? She sees how truly, deeply, constantly awful everything can be. But some spark of hope keeps her going, and she ends up in, a much better place. Beautiful to me image of it isn't that final shot to me isn't just about, and Cassian Andor lives on because the show is called Andor. It's also about Bix keeping on going, finding hope, being in an organic place that has that field, that beautiful real place in such contrast to the Empire has meaning. So I think a lot about Bix. I think about Luthen having a version of hope, because Luthen is a brutally realistic person who has hope for a future. He has hope for a future, but he has no hope for himself, which is, I think, a really interesting portrait of a character. He has decided that he is building a dawn he will never see. And you and I have talked about that a lot, of what would be different for Luthen if he had either said, I may need to sacrifice myself, or they're not taking me. I'm building that new dawn and I'm going to enjoy it. And I think that's why Clea's smile speaks to me so much, because it's hope. It's hope that this battle isn't just about violence and death and using the tools of our oppressor against them. There's other things to be had. So the Luthen perspective on hope is very fascinating to me. But the biggest one is, go ahead. Sorry.
No. Go, please.
I was just going to say the biggest one for me is Nemik in Nemik's manifesto.
Yeah.
Is because I think when one is in a mood of realism, of like, he was a nobody who helped to get this raid going, who helped to accomplish the raid, and the raid funded parts of the rebellion
Mhm.
for a little while, and Luthen's plan was to get the Empire to crack down more, and they did, and so maybe more people joined the rebellion because of that. So great. But ultimately, for himself, why was he so hopeful? He was crushed by the, capitalism that was crushing him metaphorically. He was literally
Mhm.
physically crushed by. But that
Mhm.
manifesto and that idea to go from the first season where Partagas seems so powerful and untouchable to
Mhm.
see Partagas kind of broken by that manifesto that cannot be contained, and Partagas trying to imagine who is this person who wrote this person
Mhm.
who, in Partagas's mind, I think poetically is thinking like, the MFer who wrote this is the person who killed me.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
person who wrote this caused these loose ideas to be an ideology that people can hold, and I couldn't contain it. That guy got me. That
Mhm.
guy's going to get the Empire. Who was that? This
Mhm.
little schmo nobody
Mhm.
who advocated the idea of try, do something, uh, do
Mhm.
not give them the victory of doing nothing. To me, is the heart of Nemec's manifesto.
Yeah, powerfully said there. And we've, I think, during our reviews, talked about Partagas has spent his whole career trying to, or this whole chapter of his career, trying to cut out the disease or stop the disease from spreading. And to him, it was a disease, but to everyone else, it was the cure. It was the antidote, and
Mm.
it just kept getting passed around, and it kept growing. And what I love too about the choice of it being Nemec is, bluntly speaking, he's coded as a poet, as a thinker. He is not the big strong warrior, and you need those. You need all kinds, right? You need your brutes. You need your suave Han Solos. You need your bigs. You need Porkins. You need them all, right?
Yep.
But you have Nemec, who is so sweet, and so caring and so thoughtful, and that in a rebellion that is war, you have, like I said, truly all kinds, but you have this beating heart that is there to put this message and these ideas out, and the ideas are the strength. The ideas are the weapon, and I just
Mm-hmm.
love that it comes from Nemec. I think it was perfectly
Mm-hmm.
crafted.
And the manifesto itself is so good, but also his his discussion about the technology in the different ways that authoritarianism exerts itself,
Mm-hmm.
and the vibe. Everybody likes Nemec, but he's so like nerd coded with his little
Mm-hmm.
models, and
He
like,
is.
you got the stone cold
Mm-hmm.
at the time killer of Cinta. You got,
Mm-hmm.
Vel, the woman of privilege who gave it up,
Mm-hmm.
but is, trying to get by. You get, I'm forgetting the character's name who ends up betraying them all, but they all come off as like
Skiing, yeah.
rough
Mm-hmm.
and tumble, dirty,
Yeah.
depressed. Let's be serious. Let's be real. Who do we need to kill? And
Mm-hmm.
Nem's over here meaning like, I have a model and some theme discussion.
It
And
is.
he's so coded as, why should even
Yeah.
within the rebellion, like, this isn't what we need. We need hard fighters. And
Yeah.
Namek is like, I got some thoughts and some
Yeah.
poems and
Yep.
some models,
Yep.
and that is of value too, is so important.
Yeah, no. You look, and again, you need the big brawlers to be the first to the breach, and again, that's why the roster needs to be needs to be full. But every NFL team has a kicker, and they need the kicker to do to win
Hmm.
the game sometimes, and to boil it down simply to sports. But I love that, and yeah, we're not done talking about Luthen on this channel because it's one of my favorite characters. It's one of my
Hmm.
favorite performances, but it's also the response to him sometimes troubles me. I just got to be honest, because I still. You talk about Clay's smile. We talked about it even recently on a live show.
Hmm.
It's just one of my favorite moments in Star Wars. It's everything you're talking about. It is the hope, and I sometimes want to say to the Luthans of the world, it doesn't have to be like that. You're
Hmm.
choosing that outcome. You're choosing that, and you could have done
Hmm.
this differently. And I think the show does address it. It gives him a ton of credit. And there's everyone at Yavin who is there because of him, but they spent a lot of time going, man, he was also an asshole,
Yeah.
and I don't think that I think it lets you kind of take it as you will, but I love that you brought it up, and we're not discussing it because it also elicit responses to even us, not just the character. People get mad at us sometimes when you and I in season 1 we're like, that speech ain't everything you think it is. It's great.
Yeah.
But it means something different to me.
Yeah. And I think the second season deals with it beautifully. I think
beautifully.
It shows the many parts of his strategy that were extremely effective, and it shows the pain and the damage that he caused, like keeping Valencinta apart and things like that. So I think it's extremely nuanced, good storytelling. Last thing I'll just say quickly about Nemec is I think it's really great how much of the show was written from a historical perspective, as the Gilroys have talked about and other writers, but kind of how much it continues to sort of feel like it was on the nose. Nemec's speech about technology to me is just hugely important, about how the Empire wants you to be in their technology system where they limit your options, they limit your thought. That was written long before this push for AI that in our real world is being driven by people who want to control our thoughts. They want us to be absolutely dependent on their AI chatbots that they can program to think any truth. I mean, Nemec would have 800 more manifestos about what's going on with technology and its hand in hand with authoritarianism right now. It's something I've been thinking about a lot, so I just need to say it out loud. That if you're celebrating Nemec's manifesto, go back and rewatch his speech about technology and think about it before you use an AI to make you wear a sparkly candy cane suit on Facebook.
It's a good suit. It is sparkly, but
yeah. Anyway, moving on. What are your thoughts on how the sequel trilogy handles hope? It's also big on hope. It uses the actual word. How do you think it talks about hope differently than the Andor Rogue One original trilogy?
I can't. Yeah, I can't stress enough how much I love that the sequel trilogy deals with what came before, and that is somewhat meta. It's even 3PO mentioning 42 years ago, on Pisana for the Yaki Yaki is a fun reference at the beginning of all of this, but it is the post Endor of it all, where we spent a lot of our time, especially if you grew up in those wonderful Amblin 80s of hugs at the end of the sitcom and cheerful montages at the end. And we all can build towards those moments of victory, whether in terms of some kind of war or personal victories or getting the girl or anything like that. But then there's a dawn that tomorrow, the sun rises again. And sometimes that hope is lost. Sometimes the same things repeat. And so the sequel trilogy, having all the characters, all the major players having to deal with the hope that came before. And now you're telling me I need to do this all again? Or you telling me that caused some problems? I think it's tremendously realistic. And though, you can look at episode 7 as a soft reboot, and all those conversations we've had before and we'll have again about what that movie introduced that was new. But the biggest thing to me is you're in the shadows of this, and it includes in the shadow of hope. That includes I made it. I got here. Oh my gosh, I worked so hard on that thing, and yay, but then it all starts again, and it's still a choice to maintain, and it is still a choice for the younger generation. We are speaking carefully, as you just did, outside of the bounds of Star Wars into the real world. This is truly unprecedented times. It ain't good, but talk to people who were there in 67. Talk to people in the late 70s. The late 70s, the world seemed to be coming apart at the seams. But we got through it. But again, which is not to belittle the things. It's pretty daunting now. But the point being, this is what happens, and this is what continues to happen. So to find hope when you've already had it and lost it, and to find hope again when history tells you it's what's the point, is to me how hope is represented in the sequel trilogies.
No, I think that's a really great point, that it is in the shadow of this question of a cycle. And and our older characters are having to deal with, I don't want to do this again. How is this going to be different than it was the first time? And
Right.
all of them reignite their hope.
Yeah.
The Force Awakens could be the Hope Awakens. But what I think there's a lot of hope in the Force Awakens, but I think one of the things that I like about the Last Jedi and celebrate about the Last Jedi is I think it is a retelling in its own way of The Empire Strikes Back.
Hmm.
And people have talked about that in lots of different ways. But I think for me, when I look at the original trilogy and the story of hope, Empire Strikes Back is like, here's all the reasons these characters should give up hope from the big
Hmm.
organization of like,
Hmm.
all we were just trying to find a new hidden base. We weren't even going to attack anything. All we were trying to do is survive, and we got chased out of there. Luke is battered. Han and Leia are battered. All these reasons they should give up hope, and they don't. And I think the mission of The Last Jedi, as we've talked about before, is to torture test the core ideas of Star Wars.
Hmm.
And one of those core ideas is hope. And I think the plot
Hmm.
of Last Jedi is Luke has given up hope. Rey needs guidance to find her hope. Luke, on a personal level, realizes, oh, I got old and cynical that the Jedi can't, their value can't just be a symbol of hope. They have to do good. They have to make all the right decisions. They made a lot of bad decisions. So I'm going to kind of ignore the good decisions. I'm going to kind of ignore the good I've done, focus only on the bad, and get out of here with that kiddie bullshit
Right.
about the Jedi's value being hope.
Right.
And I think what the film does is Luke accepts people do need hope. It's in the opening crawl that Leia knows that Luke just returning, just coming back to the fight will be a spark of hope.
Hmm.
So Luke realizing, oh, just allowing myself to be seen as a mythic hero will give people some hope, and that in of itself is valuable. You have that story with Luke. You have the actual plot of what is the resistance up to that our characters really understand and put words to. Leia and Holdo really understand. Our goal is not to beat them today. Our
Hmm.
goal is to survive so we can keep fighting. I think it's a very realistic story of hope when victory is not around the corner at all.
Hmm.
And if you've got the team of realists coming in going, you got no chance. Like, you are correct. We are not going to beat them tomorrow, but we need to survive in order to have a chance to beat them. That's the whole actual literal plot
Hmm.
of The Last Jedi, and it is signified and turned into a thematic with Holdo's, we will be the spark that will light the fire that will burn the First Order down, and Poe understanding that the mission is keep the spark alive,
Hmm.
don't give in, and do nothing. And it's one of the things to me that I think is the most underrated, underappreciated about Rise of Skywalker is how it continues that theme in that, yeah, I love watching Poe struggle to be like, okay, I got the lesson.
Hmm.
Keep the spark of hope alive. And man, is it flickering inside Poe in Rise of Skywalker. And that's what the
Hmm.
somehow Palpatine Return to Line is about. I'm trying
Yes.
to keep the spark of hope alive. I am trying, but everything
Yeah.
is this desperate little tiny victory. And every time I turn around, there are more problems. It gets worse. I am having a hard time. I know it's my job to keep the spark alive. And that's his tearful apology at the Battle of Exegol of,
Hmm.
I kept the spark of hope alive. I kept saying, let's take these long risks, these long odds. I really started to doubt it myself. And now I feel like I was that idiot who believed the saccharine hope sticker, and I brought you all to your death. And the fire finally arrives in the form of the Citizens Fleet. And I think it is one of the places where The Last Jedi advanced the discussion of how does hope function? How does it really work? And I think Rise of Skywalker did a really great job on picking up the baton of that and showing it.
Yeah, this is why you and I just need to go to bars more. So when I start to get into the bar fights, you can say the words that I struggle to say when I'm angry. No, I love the breakdown, and I think I think you and I one day might just do an hour on somehow Palpatine Return, because we've talked about it before, but I just don't think people get it. You missed what it was trying. I get it. It's not my favorite line either, But
It's a clumsy line,
the clumsy line.
yeah.
But it represents what you're talking about. It represents to connect it to my own life, and hopefully it connects with anyone out there listening. Like, I've had a tough year, 2025, tough year for me personally. Lost a lot of things. Not knowing where I'm going to live, not knowing if I have money to get food, all those kind of things. And then I have a lot of folks, hey, rewire your brain, do this, think positive, all those kind of things. It's chemical, it's scientific. And I've done some of that, and I've had some absolute miracles happen. And I'm like, yay, and I get this endorphin rush. And I believed in hope. I stared off into the twin suns, and it happened. And then 2 weeks later, oh, there's a vet bill. Oh my gosh, I didn't get that job. Oh my gosh. And I feel like somehow my troubles returned.
Somehow the vet bills returned.
Yeah, and that's part of the lesson. And I will go to my grave, which is hopefully not for a long time, but go to my grave that there are more of us, Poe. There are more of us. Is one of the most emotionally satisfying moments in Star Wars. For me, I wish it was for more people, because it is all that to me. And I love the way you described that. Yeah, thank you.
It's
come to more fights with me.
I struggle to be as eloquent because I just want to deflect. You can't win, but there are alternatives to fighting. Is usually my approach to the bar fights. Of like, I'm not going to change your mind, but I'm maybe going to remind you that there are many perspectives, and there are many different reasons for these perspectives.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Poe having his cockpit moment of doubt. I mean, I love that you're saying this of like, I'm so sorry I believed. I'm so sorry, everybody, that I believed. I'm so sorry I yelled, if you're still in line, stay in line. The polls are open, right? I'm so sorry I set resist bot links out or told people to go show up. I'm so sorry because it didn't work. That's very real to me. Whether it was executed perfectly in the movie or not, up for debate. All right, and I get as a film, I get it. But as a story and as a Star Wars story, I think it is rich. It is rich, and it is inspiring, and all that is there. So I love those moments. Thank you.
Yeah. Me too. Let's talk in our brief time remaining here about where the idea of hope resonates in any of the Disney Plus shows, the live action or animated, or any video games you want to throw in, any other part of Star Wars.
Yeah, Battlefront 2, Iden Versio, there's this hope of change. There's a hope that a character could see that even how you were raised was not necessarily about it being wrong, but about it can be new. Or Del Meeko learning from Luke Skywalker. Wait a minute, why would Palpatine lie? You're saying Palpatine would lie to me? I love all that stuff. So yes, and there's also the hope that you can regenerate on the map quickly when you die in multiplayer. that death is not the end on Battlefront. I think overall, swinging through the live action animated shows, I think of things like Bad Batch and change and fighting through the darkness, but the next generation. I think of Kenobi being a series very much, as you have said so wonderfully in the past, but being about how we treat our kids, our youth, our young, or the future, and how we can do them wrong, and how we can correct that, and how you can break the cycles. I think that stuff is present there as well. I think of the Book of Boba Fett being about the hope of change and the hope of choosing to change. That's why I love the Garsa Whip scene with Blacker Satin. Yes, you were once the pinnacle of strength. We view that differently. And I hope you can change in a way. I'm paraphrasing, of course. Anyways, I think it's all present. And it's very much, to me, the shows deal with next generations, including that little baby Yoda that showed up that we all seem to like a lot.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the Book of Boba Fett is a great example of allowing a little bit of hope leads to these other things, leads to the ability to value community in particular, really explicitly with Boba Fett's discussion with Fennec Shand of like, I used to think that you could do everything yourself, and I was taught the value of community, and it does take some hope to get there. Kenobi is a huge one to me, partially just because it's one of my favorite characters and one of my favorite of the live action shows. And I think there's a lot, about what do we owe children, and not giving up on the world is a thing that we owe children, trying to set things right for the next generation, even if we fail the next generation. But I think a lot of it is like man, is Kenobi relatable? He's doing his mission, right?
Yeah.
Watch over
Yeah.
Luke, but he is just barely getting up in the morning, right? Just
Yeah.
depressed because he's also dealing with his personal thing of, I lost everything I was.
Hmm.
Here's what it meant to be a Jedi. And not only did the Jedi die and fall and I fail, but I fought this war for is a pawn, and I gave in to the faster, quicker, easier route that violence was the answer to handle things with Anakin. And
Hmm.
maybe it should have been, maybe it needs to be, but just that realization that but what it means to be a Jedi is to defend life. And I used to believe that, and it used to motivate me, and it used to make me excited to get up out of bed in the morning and to feel valuable in the way that Kenobi goes, oh, I can still be a Jedi every day. It's just in a very, very different way. But I need to allow myself to open myself back up um, to hope and to defining myself the way I want to, rather than the way all these external conditions
Hmm.
are defining me.
Hmm.
Um, I think it's a really powerful story of a middle-aged person coming back to hope that Kenobi's not at the end of like going, yep, and now I'm going to go back out there and I'm going to kick the Emperor. He's like,
Hmm.
I got,
Hmm.
but on a personal level, he's like, here's who I need to be in order to be there for the
Hmm.
next generation, is to not be a cynical nihilist who gives up.
Yeah, yeah. And what is your role in this new fight? Right. I
Hmm.
mentioned real parts in history in the '60s and the '70s, and a lot of times it's easy and I think at times correct to point at some of those generations, the boomers, and go, "Hey, what happened? What happened? You
Yeah.
helped? Did you give up? Like what happened? You just get to 1984, four, and think, all right, we got it. Mondale only carried Minnesota. This is what we got.
Yeah.
And I've had these conversations in my own life of some of the boomers in my life, going, I just want to go finish my days doing this, and it's like, great, your fight is different. I can't expect you to be out on a protest line at 77, maybe as much as even if you want to. But is this what you want to leave for me and
Hmm.
for others? And is this now what I want to leave for others? Like I'm in that part of the fight too, where you're looking behind you at who's coming up behind you. Yeah, and I think Kenobi. That's why I've always loved how you described too, and what is there of Kenobi kind of rediscovering that walking through that hallway. It starts tragically with Dara Sanupe's death confirmed, but he emerges reconnected. It's one of my favorite little sequences in Star Wars for that reason.
It's really great. Yeah. And there's so much in Bad Batch.
Yeah.
We love Bad Batch, and we talked in all our reviews about how unflinching it was, about how awful it was. Is the Empire's boot came down in all these different this tour of the galaxy of people going, oh crap.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is what this is going to be. But Omega being this just bright spot of hope, and
Mhm.
that image of her in this jail cell,
Mhm.
with the flower breaking out, the relationship that dawns between her and Crosshair, a person who had given up any hope, and just being infused with it,
Yeah.
because of Omega. Um, I think that's another one that's very important to me in a picture of hope in a truly dark time.
Absolutely.
What are your hopes for hope in future Star Wars storytelling? How would you like to see the theme manifest?
I'm curious of how they deal with this big, but at times rather simple, direct concept, and how it will manifest itself, especially in light of um, the real world. Though I understand when all the writers go, "Yeah, I'm not writing for this year. We started writing 3 years ago."
Hmm.
I get that. I'm not talking about specifics, but what does hope mean to us now? What does hope mean when there's even a little bit more, just in terms of the films? Like, here we go again. Do they, are they going to hit the box office numbers? Is this going to find a new generation? What
Hmm.
do we got? But that's kind of the key here too for me. Is there is a new generation that these will be the first big stories, not just Star Wars stories, but the first big stories of lessons and hope. And so that is just my simple hope that that is not forgotten, and that is part of it, and that there's never a well, Star Wars has dealt with hope a lot. Is there anything else we can do? No, that's the key to these stories.
Yeah, it's always going to be about hope versus fear to some extent. Um, I continue to be hopeful for a version of the new Jedi Order film, and I think it was an interesting idea of hope that to me was embedded in the pitch that Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy gave at Star Wars Celebration 2023, that it was a new time. Jedi were rising again, and there were people who didn't want this symbol of hope around. And I think I would be interested to see a time where things are okay in the galaxy. There isn't one big oppressive authoritarian regime to fight. Things are okay. They're mixed. They're balanced. And there are figures who have the audacity to say, we don't have to organize the galaxy the way we always have. Better things are possible. And the cynics among us want to say that they are not. And the actively negative forces want to crush the vision that better things are possible. And I would just love a Star Wars story that uses the Jedi as a symbol of building something new, not just defending the old, but the Jedi as an idea of, we choose the future. We choose how society goes. Darkness is always going to rise. There's always the risk of getting trapped in a cycle. But right now, we determine the future. And do we want to choose something better? And the amount of forces that would push back and go, no, we want things locked into a system, and we want people to believe that there's no choice outside of that system. I would love to see a new Jedi Order film that tackles hope from the perspective of building something new.
Absolutely. How hope keep going. How hope keeps going.
Yep. All right. Well, this is very, very helpful for me. Do you have any final thoughts as we wrap up here?
No, can't wait for the new era, and can't wait to revisit all this. And, send all your comments about Luthen, care of me. I love the character. I love
him too.
Much like Saw Gerrera, I love characters that raise challenging questions. Fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah. It's been a really great era these last 10 years of Star Wars of saying fighting back against authoritarianism is hard, and there's lots of different ways to do it. And,
Right.
What is the best way to do it?
Indeed. All right. That is it. That is our discussion on hope. The final discussion of hope ever here on ForceCenter. No, it's important to revisit. And thank you all for listening. You can support us directly at Patreon at patreon.com/ForceCenter. You can go ahead and listen to the podcast, the audio version, the faceless version, where you will not know that next week I'm going to shave my beard for a little bit and everyone's going to react to it and I'm going to get comments, but I just need to reset it. You'll never know. But you can also get rebroadcast episodes of Databank Brawl on the podcast feed. Get merch at Fourth Wall, Team Public. You can also subscribe here on YouTube. Follow us. Leave us super thanks. Do all the things to help us grow. And tell your friends about what we do here. Follow me at Ken Napzok. Or go to my website, kennapzok.com, for all the other things I do, or my Patreon page, patreon.com/Ken Napzok. There I'm sharing full stand-up set clips with some analysis and some breakdowns and some journaling about what that set meant or what it was. And then my show, Pop Rockin' Radio, is still on Patreon there. So if you like good rock and pop music from the last 30, 40 years, head there as well. Joseph, where can they find and follow you?
Yeah, you can find me on all the social media at Joseph Scrimshaw. Look for my Obi-Wan Kenobi in the shower. Oh, I shouldn't say it that way. My Obi-Wan Kenobi action figure against rocks photo that just happens to be a shower at the Madonna. And you can look for that on all the social media at Joseph Scrimshaw. If you want to keep up with the horror film Dead Media that we made and are now working to get out in the world, which is an adventure that can feel hopeless, and I have to remind myself to keep fighting the good fight every day. If you'd like to help out with that and keep up to date, you can sign up for the mailing list that is available on my website, josephscrimshaw.com. I think I also want to end with just a little bit of that. It is a difficult time in the real world. There are lots of things that people can try that aren't going to work. They're not going to work immediately. And it's easy to feel cynical and go, well, why even bother? I think the important thing to bother, reason to bother, is don't give them the victory of doing nothing. That is what Nemec's speech is about. That's why it ends with, not remember this simple trick for a quick victory. It's remember this, try.
Indeed. I echo those thoughts. Keep hope alive, truly. in Star Wars in your own life. Make that choice. Fight for it. We'll see you next time here on ForceCenter.